The Galactic Academy's lecture hall fell silent as Oscar stood, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the artificial light. The Zenthari warrior scholar had never been challenged by what he considered a lesser species, and he wasn't about to start now. Impossible, he declared, his voice resonating through the chamber's acoustics. No human possesses the neural capacity for quantum navigation. Your kind barely understands three-dimensional space. Daisy looked up from her datapad, her expression unchanged. She had heard variations of this speech 100 times since arriving at the academy. The other species, Zenthari, Vokrim, the silicon-based architects, they all believed humanity's acceptance into the Galactic Federation was a charitable gesture, not an earned position. I'm sorry, Oscar, but I don't recall asking for your assessment of human capabilities. Daisy replied calmly, her fingers still moving across the holographic interface. The lecture hall erupted in a mixture of chittering, electronic pulses, and guttural sounds that passed for laughter among the assembled species. Oscar's exoskeleton flushed a deep purple anger in Zenthari physiology. You think you're clever? Oscar stepped down from his elevated seat, his 3-meter frame towering over the human section. Then prove it. The gauntlet. You and me. Tomorrow, at dawn. The laughter died instantly. The gauntlet wasn't a classroom exercise, it was a survival course, designed to test the absolute limits of a species' capabilities. Physical endurance, mental acuity, tactical adaptation. Most students wouldn't attempt it until their final year. Several species considered it optional entirely. Professor Kellanor, a being of pure energy contained within a magnetic field, pulsed orange their version of distress. Oscar, that is highly irregular. Daisy is only in her second term. I accept, Daisy said, closing her datapad with a soft click. The classroom exploded into chaos. The gauntlet began at the edge of the Academy's biodome, a sprawling artificial ecosystem that replicated environments from across the galaxy. Oscar arrived with an entourage of Zenthari supporters, their armor gleaming, weapons calibrated for the non-lethal but painful simulation rounds. Daisy arrived alone, wearing standard Academy combat gear and carrying a small pack. Any last words before you embarrass your entire species? Oscar asked, his mandibles clicking in amusement. Daisy checked her chrono. See you at the extraction point. The starting klaxon blared, and they were off. Oscar charged forward with the confidence of a predator species that had conquered 12 star systems before humanity had invented the wheel. The gauntlet's first stage was a vertical cliff face, nearly 200 meters of slick, bio-engineered rock that shifted and changed unpredictably. For a Zenthari, it was merely challenging. Oscar's natural climbing appendages and enhanced strength carried him upward with practiced efficiency. He crested the top in under 4 minutes, a respectable time even for senior students. He looked back, expecting to see Daisy struggling below. She wasn't there. Confused, Oscar activated his scanner. The device showed Daisy's signature already in the forest zone, the third stage of the gauntlet. Impossible. She would have had to skip the cliff entirely. Oscar's confusion turned to anger. She must have cheated somehow, found a shortcut. He pushed forward into the desert zone, where temperatures exceeded 60 degrees Celsius and water was scarce. His species was built for such extremes. Humans, with their fragile, water-dependent biology, would collapse within the hour. But when Oscar reached the transition point to the forest zone, he found something that made his blood run cold. A makeshift pulley system constructed from vines and Academy-issued rope, still swaying slightly. Daisy hadn't climbed the cliff. She'd built a device to pull herself up in a fraction of the time. In the desert, he found buried water caches she'd apparently hidden days earlier, along with a discarded cooling vest that she'd jerry-rigged from a solar panel and medical cold packs. She was adapting. The forest zone was Oscar's specialty: tracking, hunting, survival. But everywhere he went, he found evidence of Daisy's passage. Not the clumsy stumbling of a species out of its element, but calculated moves. She'd set false trails, marked dangerous plants with small stones, even established several camouflaged rest points. By the time Oscar reached the final zone, a zero-gravity combat simulation, he was exhausted, frustrated, and deeply unsettled. The Zenthari didn't adapt quickly. They overwhelmed through superior natural advantages. But this human wasn't trying to match his strengths. She was using strategies he'd never encountered. The extraction point appeared on his display. 100 meters ahead, Oscar pushed his failing body forward, pride demanding he finish. As he stumbled into the extraction zone, he saw her. Daisy sat on a supply crate, eating what appeared to be a ration bar. Her uniform was dirty but intact. She looked tired but alert. According to her beacon, she'd arrived 47 minutes earlier. How? Oscar gasped, his translator struggling to process his exhaustion-slurred words. Daisy stood, brushing crumbs from her lap. You want to know the difference between Zenthari and humans, Oscar? She walked toward him, and despite her smaller size, he found himself stepping back. Your species evolved to be apex predators. Mine evolved to outlast everything that was trying to kill us. She gestured at the course behind them. You have better strength, better speed, better natural weapons. But we have something you can't train for. We're persistence hunters. We don't give up. We adapt. We use tools. We plan. We endure. Oscar's legs finally gave out, and he collapsed to his knees. The medical team was already approaching, their scanners showing his complete physical exhaustion. Daisy knelt beside him, her voice softer now. You challenged a human in front of the class. Oscar, we don't back down from challenges. It's genetically coded into us. We spent 200,000 years chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion, building tools to overcome our weaknesses, and turning every environment on our death world into something we could survive. End quote. She stood, extending a hand to help him up. Oscar stared at it, that small, 5-fingered appendage that had once seemed so fragile. The question isn't whether humans belong in the academy, Daisy said. The question is whether the galaxy is ready for what we bring to it. Oscar never returned to the lecture hall. He transferred to a different program the following week, citing philosophical differences with the curriculum. But the recordings of the gauntlet spread throughout the academy like wildfire. And when Daisy walked into class the next day, nobody questioned whether humans belonged there anymore. They already knew the answer.